Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
Yo, dog, Kenny Boucher here, The Long War. Joined tonight is my one and only partner in crime, Wyatt Turk. Nobody else on this podcast.
Ride or die, son.
That's right. They canceled Rob. He's not on this podcast anymore. That's official.
Dead to us.
You know, just like he's too much of a fucking internet bully for even us. So, you know, that's what's up. Later on in this show, we will have a resource matter expert providing us with a little bit of insight. We got our buddy Jason McKenzie from XBZ. He is a legendary old school Imperial Guard player, and he is an AdMed player. He's top ranked. I think he's second right now. He just got dethroned very recently. And the format of today's podcast will be a little different because, you know, since Rob's not here anymore, you know, this grown ass man with his like super responsible way of reacting to things and telling us how to do our job. We're not doing that. Okay. We did a whole pregame show and we're just going to fucking use that as a podcast. So we're recording this to make it seem like we're professionals, but we're really just lying to you and clickbaiting you.
Yeah.
All joking aside, Rob is actually at a town hall meeting or some shit, a community.
Yeah, he's currently filibustering a town hall meeting about a golf course going in somewhere.
Like I said this earlier, but like, he is so much more of a grown up than we are.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine doing that. Like, I can't imagine like a letter showing up in my mailbox and it's like, we're doing some town hall shit about this shit. Do you want to show up at this shit and be a part of it? I'm like, what the fuck? Throw that in garbage? No, I don't. Go into garbage with all my jury duty summons. Speaking of which, I got one right here, and they were like, yo, you haven't showed up the last 3 times. We're about to fine you if you don't show up this time. And I was like, God damn it.
I mean, you could just show up and say some wild shit to get out of it.
Oh, no, that's obviously what my move is.
Just answer like, oh, birds aren't real. We live in a simulation. Every time they ask you a question.
My go-to is whatever the thing is about, I just say, like, I don't think that's a crime.
Tight.
Like,
I mean, careful on those, but yeah.
No, I will be totally. Up to this point, it's just been drugs.
Okay.
It's always been drugs. It's been like, oh, this guy got caught with heroin. I'm like, shouldn't be a crime. They're like, are you sure you can't, stomach that bias? It's like, yeah, man. I'm like, I'm on heroin right now. Like,
don't say that.
They look right at me. They're like, man, fuck you, dude.
Oh man.
Oh man. But so I guess while we are going to do a more organic episode tonight, while Rob is handling real adult, grown-ass fucking responsibilities, we'll do a one-person Would You Rather?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people can always, leave their answers in the comments if you want to. Join our Discord, talk about it there. But Kenny, would you rather be 20 years old in the year 1980 or 20 years old in the year 2000?
That's an interesting question.
I thought so too.
The year 2000, I was like 17. So it's almost the same as it already was for me, I think.
Is it though?
Like, I would still be in high school, right? Like, everything about my life is the same. I'm just 20 now.
No, you're just like teleported back as a 20-year-old.
Do I live parallel to my current 20-year-old self? Like in a split-tinted timeline?
Yeah, you could never meet or touch, or the universe implodes.
So, like, so he's there. It's not like I'm now back in time. Okay, got it. So, motherfucking 17-year-old Kenny's running around high school, thinks he's the coolest guy. He's got his Jinkos, he's got his rollerblades, he's got his Discman with no skip resistance. He's got to walk real slow with that thing.
You cheap fuck.
And then there's 20-year-old Kenny, but I have the mind of 39-year-old Kenny.
Yeah. And all of the knowledge of your life up to that point.
And am I teleported back to where geographically I should be at that time, or I'm just like still right here? Like, how do I get there? Like, what's
you're in the States, wherever you live, whatever.
I'm like a man with no assets, no bank accounts, nothing. I'm just like a street hobo, right?
Yeah, it's like Back to the Future rules.
Back to the Future rules.
Yeah.
Like, and I got to
just to get the bonus of being a 20-year-old.
I got to go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, reasonably good-looking, tall, white guy in the 80s walking around the street. I could just, like, hustle my way through life, dude. I could just be like, hey, yeah, I'll invest in that apartment complex. Take an IOU. They'll be like, yeah, you seem like a reasonable guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I could just bluff my way through anything and probably be, like, filthy rich by the time, like, 2000 rolls around. Like, then I will find 17-year-old Kenny, won't meet him, and I will just, like, drop off, like, anonymously a preposterous amount of cash for him and a note. Because this Back to the Future rules. I can write him a note. Or maybe.
Yeah, but doesn't that alter your timeline?
Yeah. My whole purpose.
That's creating a time paradox?
Is fulfilled now. Like, I don't care what happens in my future. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not going to change a lot. Okay. There's going to be some notes in there, you know, like sports almanac, but like some things that are going to happen in society that you might want to warn authorities about, perhaps, you know, things like that. Some big ones, you know, but simultaneously I'm be like, look, you're in a 40K right now. It's a big deal. You haven't even thought of this yet, but you actually, in your fucking garage right now, there's a Badger 105 Patriot or a Badger airbrush. I can't remember what it was. Your dad bought it for hobbying. It's been in that box the whole time. Go out there and figure out how to use it like right now. And you're going to launch a commission painting service. You're going to figure out how to use it. And here's my tips and trips right here. You already kind of know these. And I'm going to kind of give them that script to start now. Because now we're talking like nearly 1990s level internet infancy. The first to market domination that would occur for 72-year-old Kenny moving forward there. Man, there will be only next level painting. There will be no other painting. All painting is next level painting. Starting from from the year 2000. That would be my eventual goal. So I got to go back to 1980. 20 years old. Street hustle my way through the United States. Make $1 billion. Probably own Amazon. Like, might even be the president. Like,
you have to change your look pretty heavily.
They don't even know about super PACs yet, dude. Like, they don't understand the loopholes. I watched all.
Yeah, but that's like Reagan times, dude. You got to change your look. You can't just like roll up like as future Juggalo, man. No,
I'm not gonna be I can't even legally be the president yet. I'm only 20. Like, I'm gonna be set up. I'm gonna bring it out early, like right before it all starts. Like, I will give them. I will just exchange it for some political capital. I'm like, look, at least make me the governor of Florida. My entire empire.
You can probably swing that. You could swing that.
I can swing that.
Yeah.
Mayor of Jacksonville, at least.
You just like slap on your Jinkos and like run on the youth vote.
Oh yeah. It's somebody in chat. Imperial says like, was it not him? No, it was Gigamoose that says no internet porn. Back to VHS. Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you remember like how every gas station had a porn wall, dude? Oh, it's going to be awesome. Oh, man. And laser tag will be coming in like 10 years from 1980, laser tag. Oh, I'm going to invent laser tag.
Okay. Get in early, leave while it's still on top.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be so ludicrous, the amount of shit I'm going to be able to get in on. There will be no heavy metal painting. That's right, man. There's only one painting now. Hype-ass airbrushing. All day, every day. Like, we're gonna time travel back to the future, or it's gonna catch up, and we're gonna like open GW art books, and it's just all sick airbrushing. So gonna finally be a GW airbrush with an Aquila on it and shit.
You'll win like the first 10, 15 Golden Demons.
No. Yeah. It's gonna be so fucking gangster. Oh, I have to relearn cursive. People aren't going to be able to read my handwriting for a while. Oh, man. I can do it. But anyway, that's a good one. That's funny. Then one day I'm going to be looking at this Polaroid and like, you know, all my friends are going to start disappearing, vanishing. Then I'm going to look down at my hand and it's going to vanish. My airbrush is going to fall on the floor and I'll be like, it's my time, genie. It was a good ride. In my penthouse mansion on top of a fucking, you know, skyscraper. All the drugs in the world.
Man. Immediately went to cocaine.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you get rich in the 80s.
It's fair.
I mean, that's one of the many paths to be getting rich in the 80s. Ooh, and I'm pretty sure like Wolf of Wall Street taught me a couple things I could do in the 80s too.
Some stocks?
Damn, dude, it's going to be so gangster. I'm going to be like the most supreme grifter of all time, dude. Ooh, I can invent some comic book arcs too, couldn't I?
I mean, if you wanted to, maybe.
Good one. Thank you. What would you do?
Man. I mean, so I think the 80s is tempting for those reasons, right? But I feel like going into the year 2000 as a 20-year-old, a lot of the knowledge is still like fresh. Because I mean, like, what do we actually know about the 80s as far as like day-to-day shit is concerned? Like, we know some big stuff, but not like really basic things like banking in the 1980s, you know, different things.
I know you can basically convince anyone to cash a check for you in the 80s and anyone to take a check.
Kind of, sort of, right? So, I mean, like, I think both paths are very opportunistic. I just feel like I would be more comfortable going in at the year 2000 with all the knowledge I have now. And I think I could make money a lot faster than I could in the 80s.
Oh my God, I can finally... Was Long John Silver's in the 80s? That's right, Giggle Moosin.
I don't know.
I can stop Long John Silver's from ever existing.
Yeah, that could be a service to humanity.
Yep, that's actually now my primary goal, is to build my wealth and financial capital in the 80s at this like economic time of like pure middle-class affluence that will never happen again. And I will build in the most insane stock portfolio and political capital simply to go to Kentucky, I think is where it all started.
I guess. I don't know.
I'm going to buy Kentucky, basically, and ban the sale of fried fish.
Man. Yeah, like Chaz, I think there's way more opportunities for fast money making in the year 2000 than there is in the 80s. Plus, like, all the stuff I like to do is more modern, you know, other than maybe like fishing and shit like that. So I feel like what would happen is you could go in to the 80s and you would make all this money, but you would just be bored like all the fucking time because all the stuff you love doing doesn't exist.
Rollerblading in my Jinkos. What are you talking, man? That's like my... I can invent rollerblades, man. Look, I have a basically a task now. Like, that is to stop the spread of Long John Silver's. So I have to go back far enough to make that happen now. So that's kind of what has to happen.
That's fair.
You know, it's too late. You go back to 2000, fucking Long John Silver's everywhere. Oh, you go back to 2000, I go back to 1980, and obviously we'll never meet on our paths, but one day you'll be like, yo, does anyone sell fried fish? Is that like, has anyone ever seen that? Like,
just want some fried catfish, dude. Like, no, I was outlawed in 1984.
By some juggalo in Jacksonville.
The Boucher Act of 84.
Yeah.
You know, actually, now that I think about it, I think the 80s actually is the way because while there's not as many avenues for wealth, I don't think I could generate enough wealth in the
from scratch.
7 years.
You have no resources. Yeah. You started with no resources.
Right. Yeah. Because I was thinking about taking advantage of the housing crash and just making out like a fucking bandit, you know, but I don't think I could amount amass the wealth in that short period of time.
In the 80s, you could just walk into a grocery store with like a checkbook and write them a check, and they'd like let you have the groceries.
Yeah. I think also if I was too close to it, if I was too close to 01, I would feel like too obligated to try to stop 9/11. And like, you remember that one sketch, I think it was like College Humor or something like that, where a genie sends a guy back to like August 2001, and he's like, yeah, now you have to either live with that or try to stop it. And then he ends up getting put in like an insane asylum.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now I already figured it out. So I'm gonna go back to the 80s. I'm gonna do a little panhandling, a little light panhandling. I'm gonna get like $50 together, right? Then I'm gonna go open up a bank account, checking account, get my checkbooks, and then I'm gonna begin my first step of check fraud campaigns to build some more wealth. Burn that identity, right? Because obviously it's all gonna be fake. They don't care. I'm gonna make up shit, you know? Like, I'm gonna keep moving along. Then finally, eventually, I'll get my driver's license. But of course, I'll probably get a fake license. You know, everything was so easy back then. Damn.
Yeah.
And then eventually find myself in a position to ban the sale of fried fish. Starting obviously in Florida. Like, I can get Jacksonville on board. That's why I think I'll have to start my political campaigning in Jacksonville.
Yeah, you gotta like really get the South on board early.
Quinn's like, Kenny in prison until 2000. I mean, it's a possibility. So it's a possibility. Willing to take that chance. All right. So you want to talk about Pokemon for a few minutes before we do our...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't. I'm a big Pokemon fan. I always have been. Brand new Pokemon game comes out tomorrow. Super stoked for it. So if anybody else has a Switch, it's going to get on that Pokemon train. Can get on our Discord. Hit me up. We'll like be friends because, you know, like the number one thing in Pokemon that I do not like is how it's the year 2023 and we still have bullshit stuff. Like, you just simply can't have a Pokemon unless you trade it to somebody and they trade it back to you. Yeah. And they have not added in any way to communicate with people for these trades. It's all just like you throw up a flag and you're like, I want to trade. And you're just hoping that person is like, oh, this dude put a Haunter up. Well, I'm going to take it and then trade it back to him so he can get his Gengar. Like, no, he's just going to take that shit and leave because as soon as it's traded, it turns into a Gengar. Like, some of the coolest Pokemon are like that. And I'm just like, this is bullshit. Because if there was at least a text thing, like, I don't think people would take advantage of it the way that Nintendo thinks they will. Because I don't think you remember this, but there was a Pokemon game a couple of generations ago where it utilized the microphone in the 3DS, and you could like send messages to people. And there was even this one move that was stronger the louder the soundbite that you shouted into the microphone was.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
And so the other person heard it when you're battling. So you can imagine the degeneracy of like, it was, and this is like early 2000s. This is like when the 3DS came out.
Imagine.
So we were not in a nice social thing about bad words as we are right now. So they were like, never again. And so now I just can't even type a message like, hey, can somebody please like trade me so I can have Gengar? Like, you can't even leave a message like that. And so the easy answer is like, you just have to have a buddy to do it with, but that's not always like the case because some people have it, some people don't, whatever it might be. But okay.
I remember the early days, dog. Do you remember back in the day, Xbox Gen 1, I think, they had like a webcam thing. Light on, light play.
Oh, do you remember which was the basketball game where you could like scan your face and it would put that face on the basketball player?
Was that a 360 era?
It might have been 360 era. I don't know. I remember it.
I'm going back to like, you could play Monopoly online with people and there'd be these little rooms and people could just drop in and out. And it was all these little webcams.
I do remember that.
That was happening.
There's some nightmares for sure.
I mean, now that's why today we're not allowed to type chat messages in Pokemon because we all fucking ruined it.
So I think it would be fine. It's Pokemon.
NBA XK game is what Crush and Full says.
That might be what it was. I just remember that there was a number of times where my buddy would log on to like an online play sesh, and like all the players on the enemy team just had like dicks for faces that were all like stretched and wrapped around the head of the players.
Oh my god. They took pictures of their own dicks?
Oh yeah.
That's legendary.
It was pretty funny.
That is amazing. God damn it, that's amazing. It's like greatest thing I've heard today.
Yeah.
Huh. God damn it. Dickheads everywhere, that's right.
I'm really excited for the new Pokemon to come out. I'm gonna get my Snuggie. I'm gonna get all comfy, play my Switch all day tomorrow.
Who's your favorite Pokemon?
Ooh, it's my go-to. Probably Sandslash.
Like, you like the lore, the look, fight style?
Yeah, just design, like the way that it kind of is like one of the Pokemon. Like, I think it's just cool and cute and fun. And then like, if you get a shiny version, it looks even better. And it's just like this little porcupine dude with these baller like claws on it, but it doesn't look weird or mean, or I mean, like they have Pokemon that's like a fridge and weird shit now. So I think I got to keep it Gen 1 and go Sandslash. He's my favorite.
Brian Porkchop says Sandshrew Crew. Caps.
Yeah, dude. It's fucking awesome. I think Gengar is a close second.
I'm trying to see.
He's like the big fat ghost that has the smile.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like spiky. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Pokemon when it was a show, and I played the first two on the Game Boys that came out.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was a couple of generations I missed, but I had like the first 3 sets.
Yeah, most of my Pokemon knowledge comes from the Game Boy games. My favorite is Kirby. Like, he's the baller's Pokemon.
Not a Pokemon.
I played it on Nintendo. It was obviously
Kirby is not a Pokemon. Kirby
How is he not a Pokemon?
He's not in the Pokemon franchise. Kirby's just like an eldritch fucking horror that exists in the Nintendo universe.
God, Kirby would fucking slap down. No wonder. Okay, it makes so much more sense now.
Dude, he would be the most OP Pokemon ever because he would just like swallow the Pokemon, spit it out,
and take their
typing. Yeah, you take their typing, you know.
I mean, he's like, okay, this makes sense. That's why I never saw anyone playing Kirby on the TV show.
I actually don't remember if Kirby came out before or after Pokemon. I've never been like, other than Pokemon, I'm not like a big Nintendo guy. So a lot of the games and history and stuff behind it, I'm not super aware of.
Yeah. John Patrick's like still have Pokemon Red and Blue. That was the heat. I remember there was like the Pikachu surfboard glitch or something like that. I have like a vague memory of that.
There's all sorts of weird shit. I mean, like I've seen some speedruns that are actually like really interesting because those older games, based on like the inputs that you would put in the game, like literally like left, right, up, B, A, whatever it was, like you could literally like alter the RNG of the game. And so you watch these speedrunners and they're like from Pallet Town, they take this really weird, like up, down, circular route up through there. And they can just like, yeah, the next Pokemon I run to is going to be this. It's going to have this. It's going to be this gender, yada, yada. And they can just alter the RNG. It's super weird.
My favorite Pokemon, though, was Gyarados.
He's pretty cool.
I like that dude.
I'm a fan of Nidoking as well. He's one of my faves. I have him on like every team that I play.
I ask basically every kid that I meet what their favorite Pokemon is for the street cred. Like, our neighbors came over for Halloween. I'm just like, yo, what's your favorite Pokemon? What's your favorite Pokemon? What's your favorite Pokemon? But he's like, why are you always asking that? It's like, because next time, you know, when we see them, and I was like, hey, how about X Pokemon? They're going to be like, you're cool, man. And then they're going to think I'm cooler than you. She's like, why do you got to make everything a competition? I was like, because everything is.
It's true.
My nieces all favorite Pokemons, My Little Ponies, everything, man. I got all that shit locked down. Like, Fuck out of here. Then you got to go through and pick your own favorite because then it's like, well, what's your favorite My Little Pony? You're like, damn, I've been caught. I only know 2 My Little Pony names and it's the ones you guys just said, you know? So now I know Sandshrew is the path to being cooler in the eyes of Wyatt Turk than somebody else. So if we're ever in a situation and Wyatt Turk's going to only pick one of us to go on a boat, for example, and I'm like, yo, Sandshrew crew, you know, you're shit out of luck, man.
There's only room for one person on the floating door.
Yeah.
Picking my friend with the same love for Pokemon as me.
Mm-hmm. You don't understand. It's important to understand these things. So Kirby was before Pokemon, according to Question.
Okay. Tight.
I played a bunch of Kirby pinball on fucking my Game Boy.
Wow, is Pokemon really that old? 89?
Oh, Kirby was released 92, so it's actually after?
Wild.
Damn. That shit's old as fuck.
I've also noticed that I've become a straight Pokemon boomer where like I cannot be bothered to learn all of the wild new mechanics, and it's gotten so complicated over the years with like type differences and things having 2 different types where I'm just like, can I just have some Gen 1 Pokemon so I fucking know what to do? Just like if he's a water type, he's a fucking water type and you know how to deal with that. And then you have like all these other ones that are like dual types. And I'm like,
yeah, you are a fucking Pokemon boomer.
God damn it.
You're like those old hammer guys. Let's go back there.
Dude, I have to look up stuff constantly where I'm just like, I see a Pokemon and I'm like, I did not know that thing existed. And I have to Google like, what the fuck is this?
Oh yeah, I was looking at the chart of Pokemon the other day with Bonet because we were trying to figure out which Pokemon was which. And I was like, there is more Pokemon than I recall.
Yeah.
My boy Dan Hicks says Pokemon came out in 96. So we got some conflicting timelines. So Pokemon as an IP or a manga or whatever it was. When did it like not when we started seeing Pokemon episodes in the United States, because it's always.
Yeah. So I mean like Dragon Ball Z came out in the 80s, but we didn't see it until 20 years later.
Yeah, I'm curious. And I don't really care about the date. I just want to know, is Kirby secretly the first Pokemon?
Is that a boat? All right. Oh, you could go back to the 80s and like get like really like first wave on the anime trade.
I mean, dog, just think about that. I can get all the heat. Dog, I can like basically become infinite wealthy in Magic. And
dude, you could steal Haim Saban's idea and create Power Rangers.
Yep.
Like all sorts of shit.
Man. Going back to the 80s. Team Rocket, that's right, baby. All right. Oh, Pogs. Oh my God, Pogs.
Pogs. Yes. You could be the Pog champion.
I could be the Pog champion.
You could like study Dr. Disrespect's strategy during the 1996 Blockbuster Pog Championships and fucking trounce him. And then you would be the back-to-back Blockbuster Pog champion.
God damn it. Gotta go back to the 80s. That's the only answer. All right, guys. So now we're going to transition over to the recycled after hours with our special guest. So yeah, we're joined tonight by Jason. I'll let him use his whole name if he wants. I don't know what his social media presence is like, but I just have your first name up on screen.
No worries. I'm Jason McKenzie of XPZ. So the team captain and dad mech self-proclaimed without kids. So everyone likes to make fun of me for that. So it's good to be here.
Top Mechanicum right now?
You know what? I've been dethroned after my 3-3 performance at SoCal Open, or whatever, 3-2, whatever it was. I've been dethroned, but me and the Swedish gentleman that I've been going back and forth with is now in third. So I'm currently second. So hoping to take that back eventually here, or just play Tau for the rest of the year. I haven't decided my fate yet.
Just do really well at LVO. You'll win.
That's true. Hey, there's some best in faction bonuses this year, so it's not a bad year to go for it.
Oh.
Nah. SoCal Open was a tough one for me too, man. Like I sweat lorded my ass off to go 3-3.
I fought the Harlequins and non-interactive Eldar, which are like my worst matchups, like back to back, and it was like, well, this sucks. So
I played Tyranids right out the gate. Tyranids day 2 right out the gate. Top ranked fucking Grey Knight Mortal Wound spam. Fucking, I'm like, this is the opposite of what I need, guys. Give me some bones. But I learned a lot. Like, that's the best. I mean, ultimately, like, I keep getting these, like, Tyranid matchups, right? And everyone's always like, yo, Leviathan's the fucking nemesis. I was like, I haven't even played like one Leviathan guy, dude. Like, they're just beating my ass in a fucking configuration. Okay? And it's not like, but it's never like this, like, mythological, like wombo combo that just is untouchable. Like, I'm always in the fight. You know what I mean? It's just like, they're just out fighting me, and they have really good tools, and I'm just not figuring out how to crack that code, right? And every time I think I cracked it, I find some other new interesting version of the last guy's army, right? So I'm like, the big secret to Tyranids is not that there's just this one army that everyone's playing, is that there's like a lot of like little different styles that motherfuckers out there playing that can beat you if you're not paying attention. And so like, I think I have it now. Like, I'm ready now. Like, now I've lost like to 5 Tyranid armies. I think I got it. I got some sage wisdom from Sean Naden. Came over to the table. I got advice from one of the guys I played. I got some from our boy Claymore, your own Matt Green.
Yeah, well, his answer is, well, just take more warriors, which nobody's doing now anymore. So maybe I don't need to worry. Because my issue was I'd table the entire army except this one unit of warriors that would rip through my entire army by itself.
It's a very third edition of you.
Yes. And they go, oh man, I scored 25 points, but I still have 1,000 points left, and you have, what, 300? Wow, this isn't good.
Tight. But also Admech, they've been like up and down with like everything they've been doing to you. How's the Admech now with some of their walkbacks?
Well, I mean, it switched over back to Lucius, which definitely feels good. I mean, Mars was always super flexible, but it was never enough to be like, oh yeah, damage 1 weapons, +1 save. It's just so unilaterally good, and extra range is always really reliable. I doubled the Vanguard I had on my list. I'm up to from 20 to 40, because just auto-wounding things on a 4-up is just like bananas level good.
I've heard that's good.
Yeah. So having a second unit in there is just obnoxious when you go, yeah, can you take 50 AP1 saves, please? And then they kind of look at you as you've been rolling all these dice, like kind of zoned out, not realizing what's happening, and then it hits them, right? And they're like, oh, that's what happened.
I would just be like, I'm going to just not roll them and just like pull the guys off. Is that cool?
Yeah, exactly. And with Guard coming back out, I mean, if people actually start playing infantry lists, I'm even more excited.
Oh, the erection of actually killing 50 guys with those amount of attacks, you know what I mean?
Yes, because right now it's limited to warriors and terminators and all sorts of nonsense.
That's awesome. Oh, that makes me happy. I'm glad they walked back some of the Admech stuff. And I actually like the meta articles and the videos they did about, what the first meta watch right after they nerfed Votann before Votann came out. And they talked a little bit about Admech, and they're like, yeah, they were like on the naughty boys list for a while, then like they were super naughty boy lists, and then and now they're like not doing great. So
it was like one of those things where they were the first kids on the block to have all the shiny new rules, and when everyone else didn't have them, it was just super duper strong. Mm-hmm. And now that everyone's now at the same bar, right? It's kind of like, well, now we can actually see where everyone's rules land.
And it's not like this is new, and that's the whole, like, that was my whole issue with a lot of the Votann stuff. It was like, guys, it's like Jakari was like a gangster shit, and then it was like, nerf this, like fucking Harlequins, nerf this, like everything had, that came out strong, got dialed back, came out strong. Some things got dialed back too hard, some things didn't. Admech was in the unfortunate position in that polling, but now they're like unlocking that, and that's why I troll title the episode tonight. What did I settle on? Let me see. It's clickbait, so I'll see.
Imperial Guard, the community is
Imperial Guard nerf.
Yeah, the community. Yeah. Like, when we talked earlier today, me and Wyatt, I was like, he was talking about like this 155 point Lehman Russ, right? And I was like, and then we were talking about Votan, and I was like, yeah, man, it kind of makes. I kind of feel like, if the community was going to be fair about how outraged they were about how underpointed potentially some of the stuff was in Votan, and what occurred, I was like, if you're going to be like just straight fair across the line, right? We got to nerf fucking this tank, right? This tank can't be no 155.
Whew. That is cheap. I haven't even seen that yet. I haven't even seen the point values.
The Rogel Dorn tank is 250. So just like what we were really talking about the other day in the Discord was Logan posted this list that was just sort of like, what can I throw in there that seems good? And just that list at like 1980 points with no warlord traits or relics or anything, I'm just like, I don't see how I can possibly compete against this because it has 5 Lehman Russes. And then on top of that, you have 6 support vehicle platforms for a total of like 120 wounds at T7, T8. And the Lehman Russ is base 150. And then you add in 5 points for a las cannon, which is wild. And then you take the plasma cannon turret for no extra cost because it's the same number of shots as a battle cannon, but it's like strength 9 -4, 3 flat damage because you have so many. You don't care about like rolling ones because you have rerolls and shit, right? It's D6 plus 3 shots per gun. So 5 of these tanks is 5d6 plus 15 of those shots every turn, followed up by the 3 artillery pieces and some autocannons from the Hydras. And I'm just like, on top of all of that, he has 6 infantry squads that you can just meat grinder to win primary. Like, it's insane.
Personally, like I love the troll with my clickbait titles, right? And so the reason, and Kara Quinn hit it on the head, that's what the point of that title. He's like, Votan are new. They don't have a built-up long fan base. These motherfuckers aren't going to say any of that shit about fucking Guard. I'm like, no, that's my point.
Oh, yeah.
That's the point. The point is that Guard is OG fan base, fanatical, rabid. They will have blinders on for the hypocrisy and the irony of this concept. Where it's like, we need things to be dope and spicy on release. Then we all get our billion games in, and then we go walk it back. Then we get a billion more games in. Then we walk it back. That's how it's been done. That's actually how playtesting works right now. And of course, everyone likes to say, well, they need to hire more playtesters. We mathed it out here in the podcast. That's not actually feasible. Yep. Like when a new codex comes out, if you're going to like just playtest it at the basic level, but this one Votan list versus every faction twice, going first once, going second twice on every mission type, that's 10 weeks. That's like 10 employees, 10 weeks, 40 hours a day. Like, to do that one circuit. Like, it can't be done. So instead, they just get really close with the rules. They do their best because they have a long-standing experience with this, and they come out kind of spicy. And then we figure it out. Think about the fucking Tyranids. When they first dropped with the Maliceptors and the Harpies, that was like the only list on the block, right? The second they were like, okay, we're gonna shoot this thing up on points, that was like the weakest version of Tyranids I've played. Was that first spam. Like, this new shit's way harder to fucking score down on. Like, I'm like, we shift that shit. So that's why I don't like the pre-nerf, to like the actual victories. And now we got Votan winning some GT, and it's like Berserker spam, which is awesome, but to MSU, But I'd love to see some of their fucking hardware on the table, And I want the IP to look sci-fi, and I think that's the aesthetic of the game, and I think that's what the game producer's vision is as well. But 155 point Lehman Russ kind of shows you like where we need to be going, man. Like, yeah. So I don't want to nerf the Lehman Russ. I want to de-nerf, but very much like the AdMech. I want to unnerf all this dope hardware.
All the other tanks and light vehicles should collectively get a points decrease, not the Lehman Russ get a points increase, right? I do think just, gut check, 150 for a Lehman Russ is pretty light. I think it needs to be like maybe 10, 15 points more in the base cost for what you're getting out of it.
Tough to say to save armor of contempt, right?
Yeah. And it's
tough
synergy.
vehicle to interact with.
Yeah, with everything else. Like the firepower that it's putting out is wild. And so if you just do like a direct comparison across codexes, right? You have things like the Predator tank, which is straight dog shit. Like it's literally like a ball and chain around your ankle to bring it into a game because it's so bad, right? It needs to get dropped point cost wise a lot. And then we look at
it's not even comparable to the Leon Russ.
Yeah. And that's like the Space Marines MBT, right? I mean, you can go into the super heavies, or I guess like pseudo super heavies, like the Executioner or whatever, or the Land Raider, but it's not as comparable. But I mean, if we look at the Votan stuff after the points changes, a Sagittar is 140 with the missiles. And then if you want to make it the same cost, 150, you have to take like the Wish brand las cannon that has access to. Like it's really bad compared to a regular las cannon. So 140 with the 2 missiles for a like T7 9 wound vehicle with a 3-up save and armor of contempt compared to the toughness 8 12 wound vehicle with a 2-up save and armor of contempt and the turret weapon doing its thug life for 150. And then you add a las cannon for 5 points. Oh boy.
Yep. Jason, I'd like to also, we're in the pregame show right now. So like, we're not actually recording. We're live. People can hear us. This is being recorded, but like we'll slide into the actual podcast here soon. But we'll kind of figure out what our agenda is. But since we have you here and you are a AdMech kind of guy, lifestyles, you're old school guard player is what I heard as well.
Yeah, I got a lot of guard. I've got a lot of old guard. Yes.
So definitely would love to have a topic about like what we think, like these tank company armies are possibly going to do for the meta moving forward. I think that'd be a great topic to have you like be our expert on that, especially, and you've been playing the game for a while. So, like I said, 3rd edition, you were like, oh yeah. So seems like you have like guard experience going all the way back into to the beginning almost.
Yeah, I've been playing since everyone in their pie plates and their moms shooting ordinances, man. I mean, back in the day when, Lehman Russ came in squadrons, right? You don't see that anymore.
Perfect.
But I mean, guard has typically been a stat check faction. At least that's how I've seen it, right? They come in with extremely efficient units and bodies if you use them the right way. It's when you misapply them is where, you see a lot of losses, a lot of loss of efficiency and dice rolling and modifiers, right? Because it's a BS4 plus army. You gotta face that fact, right? And BS4 plus armies just can be so swingy. And if you're not used to it, right, you're used to playing, Space Marines hitting on 3s, hitting on 2s.
If you got all your guys that never miss, if that's your lifestyle.
Yes. Yeah, right. You go from playing custodes and hyper efficient, whatever, Space Marines, then you go play Guard, and you're like, why can't I hit anything? Right? I mean, Guard felt so bad in the, Alatok meta when everyone had -2 to hit. Right? I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I guess I'll just stand here and get shot at for 5 minutes. Right. So I think it's interesting. I don't know if I'd have an issue with that kind of points on Lehman Russ's.
I personally don't. It's a troll, right? It's like I think it should be spicy.
I'm slightly salty about it just because like I didn't get to have my fun new toy. I think everybody deserves to have their fun new toys at least for a little bit and feel that like sense of enjoyment and sense of hype and get to experience that even if something's OP. Like we're talking 1% or less of the community plays in tournaments, in which case, like almost, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think a single 9th edition codex has come out and just been like completely unbeatable for any length of time. You might have like Drukhari go undefeated, but it's only like one guy out of the 15 that were there or something, right? Like that's my point. And so this upsets me because I didn't get to have my fun with my cool new toys because people like bitched and moaned about it. And then this comes out and it's like they have the Lehman Russ at 155, and then when you add in the new guard stuff, like +1 to hit if you don't move your full like movement, you get your rerolls, you get your orders, you get your regimental doctrines, and a lot of their rules are turning out to be kind of like budget Votan rules, where if you roll a 6 to hit, it auto wounds, right? And then like fucking everything in the army has that rule and all that stuff. So I'm like, there's a disparity there that makes me a little upset.
Especially since the community will not see it the same. They'll see it as like, yeah, Guard are good again.
Oh yeah, people are straight up just mainlining copium about this new Guard stuff. That it's like, it's not OP. Don't worry about it, guys. It'll be okay.
It's not OP. Neither was the other thing.
I've only been listening to the kind of review kind of groups and taking a look at data sheets. I don't think it'll be as impressive as maybe what the reaction is, even with the rules like turrets and everything like that. I mean, me, even like AdMech, I activate my 1 CP strat. I can pick up almost every infantry model you have in 1 shooting attack with a 250 point unit. If it's standing in the right spot, I mean, and
that's why I want you to do this on this conversation.
Right. I mean, in my experience, I go, cool. I charge 2 Ruststalker units into 1 tank. I flood around 6 of your other tanks. Okay, you just lost a turn and a half of shooting. Right. So I think there's a lot of counterplay there. I think it just turns up the creativity. Like I said, they're a stat stick to me. Right. They walk around with a 2-up armor and a T8 on their vehicles, which I actually am excited to see the triple Baneblades coming back. Ooh. If that becomes a thing, right? Because
what are they?
Toughness 9, 2-up armor,
430 points.
Bad.
That's hard to fuck with.
Yeah, 430.
I'm just thinking, look, fusion blasters wounding on 5s, plasma wounding on 5s. My las cannons wounding on 4s.
It's like the old day, like, when, something was armor 14. You remember, like, there's like.
Yes. Yes.
It actually has that feeling.
Back when having 4 wounds meant something. Yeah. Right?
Bro, I tell people all the time, I was like, we didn't have, like, vehicles didn't have wounds, dog. Like, it was like, they had 1 wound.
Yeah, back when a 2-wound model was actually like, oh, wow. That thing
your baller HQ guy had 3 wounds. That was like your lord. That one guy had 3 wounds. But armor 14 was hard to fucking do anything to because, like, las cannons are bouncing off that thing. They needed 5s and 6s to interact with it and shit. And melta guns needed a 6,
Yeah, and I think that's where it's going to come into. I mean, Guard is really it's very soft, but very hard armor at the same time. There's not a lot of in between. Guard doesn't do medium armor very well. I mean, at least not the medium armor in the game is okay, but Guard previously has either done, really hard to kill tank commanders, or it's just you got a 5-up save and you got a toughness 3. And that's it, right? Even Rough Riders, I mean, they're a 4-up armor save, T3, T4, no invul, no nothing. Like, once they get in, they do their thing, they are strictly trade pieces. And once they're gone, they really don't have access to kind of the other side of the board, right? So that's my opinion on that. I think that we need to see it play first, just because there's so much maneuverability in the game right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and different people are going to have different reactions to this based on what they have access to. So if you've got your like AdMech collection, which has a lot of spicy guns, and your Tau that has a lot of spicy guns and can kind of like deal with that with like 5 minutes of thought, the reaction to this is a lot different than somebody who is, say, playing like Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines, where you're just like, I can't fucking deal with this because I simply don't have the tools or the points efficiency to take it on.
Sure.
Yeah, which is why that's why I want to bring that topic up, right? It's like, how is this and style of play going to affect the current state of the game, right? So that'll be like our big topic when we do the meat and potatoes. We'll be like, and we'll cite that Logan's list. We'll use that as like we'll cite that as our, like, Logan's a good player. He's been known to make some good lists, and be like, okay, this is in the same list. Let's talk about what it does. We have our expert here who can be like, yeah, I can see why that would be good or bad or this or that. And then we can kind of just work our way backwards from that and how it's going to affect the way we currently play the game. And that's what I love about the meta, right? That's what I love about the perpetual cyclical cycle of fucking Warhammer 40K at the table, man. Like, you know, it's the, like, I feel like most tournament players have like the opposite opinion, you know, to what the market is saying, like on Reddit and stuff, when they're like, it's too fast, too much, it changed, and we're like, yeah, man, we're making it change, right? Like that's also how this works, right? Like you're playing this kind of list, and then all your buddies are. And then we're changing our way our list plays so we can interact with you, but we accidentally made ourselves weaker against this list that already had an easier time of playing list A, but now suddenly it can beat list B again, and now this is the dominator. Then we both change our list to fight him, but now it's a crapshoot between us again. Like I was like, it's how this works, man. We thrive on that, man. Ain't trying to like just play the same fucking list for the next 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
the nature of the skew list, right? And if you're not bringing balanced lists, you're always going to have something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just think there might be like a difference in motivation. Like as a tournament, is being someone who's interested in playing in tournaments, I like to have that evolution constantly being a part of my lifestyle, right? Like this is my hobby, right? And so I'm always want to be doing something with my hobby. I want to either be scheming a list, working on some models, maybe throwing some paint here or there, whatever it is, right? That's my life. It's like at no point was I like, this is it. This is the last army I'm ever going to paint. I just finished these fucking Custodes. I'm never painting again. And then they nerf my Custodes. You fucked me. I'm like, well, don't make a sacred vow then that you're never going to paint another fucking army again. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Well, it just sits on the shelf, and then you go play whatever other army you got.
Exactly.
That's how I do it. That's at least how I operate.
Yeah. And even in the case of AdMech, like as an AdMech guy, I'm sure you had to deal with the fact that like, okay, they nerfed me, they did this. You were like, okay, this is my core collection. To survive the nerf, I need to make a couple of changes. So let me add this, let me drop this, let me do this. And then I'm sure over the course of like your journey, like your collection has like so many jigsaw pieces that you can slot back in to try different things, you know?
Yeah, you know, and for me, it was like, well, is it painted? No, but will it need to be? Because in 3 months, I'm going to want to use it. Absolutely. And that's kind of how it comes in, right? You start off with 2,000 points. And you go, well, this stuff, this got nerfed, so we're going to add another 1,000 over here. And then eventually you get your 5,000. You're like a kid in a candy store who's taking stuff off the shelf.
I never sat down and paid a 5,000 point ever. Well, I sat down and paid a 2K and then kept adding to it as the tournament scene required me to. Before you know it, I had 5,000 points.
Yeah, and that's just the kind of the cyclical nature of 40K, right? And I've been playing this game for 15 years now, and I can confidently tell you that 10 years ago, manticores were just like hot garbage, right? Now I play, I have the little melta drills from Forge World that you bring like veterans up from. Those things just dropped melta plates on things when they arrived, and they were insanely busted. Now they're kind of whatever, right? Everything goes through its cycles, and if you want to buy and sell armies, like you can, but I've always encouraged people to pick up just a couple core armies, right? Because things are going to come in and out of favor, but you should hold
Decimators come to mind, right? What Decimator was back in
yes.
Right, I had 6, right? I was like, our dick is so hard for these 145 point, dumb things. And then the first thing that happened was they hiked the price up. Okay, I can't afford 6 anymore, so I have 4. And then the next thing they did was like, rule of 3, bitches. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I remember the 12 Hive Tyrant lists, and I don't miss it.
Yeah. So I had 6 because it was skewed as fuck. And then I didn't even make it to my first tournament where I was even able to field 6, It's like, yeah, that's what I get. But I still have the fucking Decimators, man. Like, I love them motherfuckers, Like, God, I love this hobby. And we talk about a lot, too, Jason. Like, people use this statement, too, as, like, kind of like a negative thing. Like, oh, it's like a part-time job. Like, yeah, man. Like, anything that you do that's, like, not your job that you, like, sink, like, a lot of, like, love into, like, hobby style, like sport fishing, hunting, whatever it is. Like, if you do it, if you excel at it, yeah, it's like that 15 hours a week minimum, like, time allotment, like, it's, like, the scheming, the Discord groups, all that shit, like easy 15 hours a week, you know? Like, I agree.
Yeah,
it is like a part-time job.
There is no being like a champion at competitive anything without time investment, right?
You're not even going to be good at your hobby without time investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not even going to be good at a thing you say you like doing. You know what I mean?
I got a lot of respect for people who do both, right? And I think that knowing how many hours people put into their armies and things like that, is a little bit of respect at the tabletop, both as players and knowing that, hey, you probably spent 70 hours building and painting this 40K army, and you take everybody collectively in the room, and we've spent months on end putting together everything that's, at that event. And what's important is that you're enjoying it, right? And not everyone enjoys every little thing. We got people on the team who paint other people's things on the team because they don't like painting. I have a personal creed that I don't let anybody paint my models but me. And I only buy unpainted models, right? And I take forever to paint armies. That's why my Tau aren't any GTs. I refuse to just spray them and put 3 colors on them and then throw them on the table. I'm like, no, they got to be done before I actually put them on the tabletop.
Yeah, what's crazy too is like that's like the least amount of the time in a week I spend hobbying is actually physically hobbying. Like, of the 15 hours I require to maintain my status as a part-time employee of Warhammer 40K tournaments, it's vastly scheming on Discord and Facebook groups and army builder, and some of that time is physically building models and fucking painting, and the smallest amount of the time is physically playing. It's like people, I think they misconstrue it when I'm like, it's like 15 hours a week. They're like, yo, you get 15 hours of games in a week? Fuck no. What?
I know. So people are like, oh yeah, I get 3 games during the week. And I'm like, what?
Damn.
How?
Like,
right. I talked to Daniel. Daniel's like, oh yeah, I played here this week. I got TNF tomorrow, and then we got the GT this weekend. And I'm like, didn't you play like 7 games last week too? Oh yeah. What?
Yeah, what a gangster. Let me do a little shout out to chat real quick. We got of course, the oldest man on the internet, Kara Quinn, kicking it with us tonight. Zantron in here. We got some YouTube people. We got a couple various people coming on over from YouTube, Twitches on our multi-platform stream. Lavarius is in here. Renegade, I see this guy. See you, motherfucker. Turkey, Gurky. He said he's excited to see Richard Siegler prove a point. So do you have any? So you caught up on the GW New Mexico finals?
No.
So
what's the word on that?
So there's it's the GW Roadshow. Then they got their pods now. So now we've the overall pod and the generals.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yes, I do.
So hey, I'm not really up to date with the GW Roadshow stuff. But we mentioned earlier, I don't really watch football either, but when the Super Bowl's on, I watch it and I watch all the stuff about the teams and their win path, how they got there, and what the sports commentators think that defense is going to be, oh, this guy's injured. I'm going to get into that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get into all that shit. And so I'm into this, right? So Richard Sligler, apparently he's in the Best General pod and he's playing Crimson Fists.
I love it. Man's going for a challenge.
The man is, God, the dude's a legend there, you know what I'm saying? I think last year he wins LVO, ITC, and it's wait, do I have this right according to the app? You went to 5 GTs and you won all 5 of those GTs and then you won the ITC and LVO? What?
Man is a machine.
You are the fucking best. Get out of here.
What's crazy is we were talking to Jack and Nick over at MCM, and one of the things that they said is, oh yeah, you know what? It's crazy that before he won the LVO that year, they were trying to get him playing practice games throughout the week, and he was just super busy. He got up for 2 hours or something, practiced some deployment, and then went to bed. Woke up the next day to just go casually win LVO. It's cool.
It's a robot.
He's on another level.
We interviewed him way back when in 8th when he was on his tear through the fucking GTs with Tau. When Tau was considered out, they were not tight, right? and he had just won Nova and something else. This is like, I think, before Art of War and everything like that.
Yeah, wasn't it like 64 straight competition games undefeated?
Yeah, and so like this is when he was kind of burgeoning as like who the fuck is this guy who keeps doing this? You know, and it's like fucking he's out here. He's the guy who basically was like, yeah, man, fucking drones and fucking lookout search shenanigans, like everything, dude. Like he was just out there fucking. I was like, you are so good at this. This is ridiculous. and to see like he is proved consistently since that run to now that the guy is just a fucking like
beast,
10th degree black belt, man. Like fucking incredible. Love it. Like, it's exciting to see. And so like then there's the best overall pod, and there's some crazy stuff. There's like some mixed armies. We got like Sean is in there with his orcs. There's like 3 Imperial Knights, some Harlequins, some fucking straight up Eldar, some Ultramarines, you know, so it's pretty exciting. It's happening this weekend. Our boy Mohawk Minis, Jay, coming over from the UK, he's fucking playing with his Knights. It's like, okay, like I'm in. I'm suitably excited to see these like 8-man pods, like these championship pods, like play out, you know.
Well, and I think it brings some kind of flair to kind of what I think the thing that 40K is going to next step, right, in terms of the competitive environment is getting these championship pods, right, and elevating players to a level that's exciting to watch, right. And I think that something like this brings that. I think it kind of goes with the whole new tournament series that ITC just announced. I think it's another step towards bringing some, I don't know, regency to these larger events we all want to go to, right? Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week where it's like we're moving toward that direction, right? Because we obviously know, everyone knows the best way to do this. We all seen it. Like esports exists. We all know, right? We all know how this works. The problem is we play a tabletop game that takes potentially 3 hours to play. So we have a different set of limitations, and there's going to be more of a slow burn. But in the pursuit of like these accurate results, putting these so like it's awesome that GW and the global event coordinator were able to utilize that share of resources to push these pods out, right? So now we actually do have like here it is. There's like 16 guys here, right? But with ITC and it's like getting people into buys and everything like that, I love that too, because what that means is that we are more likely to guarantee that these 16 guys in the world that we all know are basically the best guys. Everything else, come on, guys. Like, they're just like raffle stomping people on the way to get into that final round, right? But, like, there's a huge chance that motherfuckers never even play each other. You know? Like, how many times is like this guy won the tournament by beating this guy, but this guy was this game was actually the grand final, but then that guy just happened to lose and now he's gone. He's faded to nothing, right? They didn't even play. You know, it's like, I think about like our boy Claymore, right? You know, he goes 6-0. Junior was like the leader of the pack, right? He drops down because Matt Green beats him. To me, in any capacity, that's the grand finals. That was the grand finals.
I thought they announced it too. And for anybody listening who got the email from FLG, they did put out a survey for people that attended their events, even if it's only one. They're asking people to fill that survey out so they can get like some data. And one of the things I specifically talked about was that if you're going to have an FLG event with no top 8 cut, then you have to have a tertiary scoring metric or stuff like that happens where people are basically being like advertised on the live stream that is the championship match. Because it is. On paper, it's the championship match. Right. But it can be overtaken because of battle points.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you have strength of schedule in there, maybe it turns out the same, but maybe that's totally different. And then you have that tertiary thing of like, this dude had harder games overall, even though this other guy scored a perfect 600. So the harder games the wins there are worth more than the seal clubs. So instead you have basically a top 8 where everyone who's starting the top 8 had 3 average scored buys. So they have the exact same battle points. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, here we go, motherfuckers. So it's more likely to get a grand champion feeling than what's happening now. You know? Yeah, and
Jason, we cut you off there. I think you were about to chime in.
Oh no, I was waiting for Wyatt to finish. I mean, my only comment is that the win path to victory, is a forgotten metric on Best Coast pairings that I encourage other TOs to use because there's a lot of feels good behind it. On having, the 3-4-1 players all end up as 2, 3, and 4, and the big winners 5-0. You don't have somebody who's like 4-1 who went loss, win, 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 and win. You have the people who win go win, 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 loss. It's a forgotten metric for win path too, right?
Yeah, good point.
Not all wins are equal, so to speak.
There are. Wins after a loss are not equal to wins before a loss.
Correct.
No, but it's exciting. It's all exciting. So we've got so Rob's not here tonight, guys. Anyone tuning in? We've got Jason here. He's our AdMech legend, an OG guard player from the past. He's currently second on ITC for AdMech. Just got dethroned from first, but he has a good understanding of how this game works and how Imperial Guard works. That's what we're going to talk about in our meat and potatoes. Potentially, Wyatt might have some new stuff for us if he's going to cover Rob's segment.
Sort of, yeah. Also, Jason has to leave.
Okay, so we'll get that thing rolling right now. Okay.
No, I mean he has to go like right now.
Oh, Jason has to leave right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just take okay.
No, as long as I can step away to let people into the house, that's fine. Wyatt's going to be late tonight, so my sparring partner is not here quite.
Oh yeah, the lesser XPZ Wyatt.
The lesser Wyatt. No, but I run a weekly game night here at the house.
No, it's fine. I'll go back and slap out some of the things you said from earlier, and I'll just throw that into the podcast.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Sure.
I'll just do a little bit more editing. Thanks for showing up and helping us out and providing us with some insight, man.
No, love it. Thanks for having me, guys. And
yeah, dude, thanks for hanging out.
Everyone has a great night.
Much love, homie. Thanks for listening to the Long War podcast. And if you guys are feeling generous, check us out on longwar.net. Check out our Patreon page. You can throw us a little bit of support. We throw up the after hours content, the live stuff, and of course the pre-game show, the before. We truly appreciate the financial support. Enjoy the rest of your day.